Okay, so here comes our final round here. So I've gone through and I added my line work, went into the background, worked on kind of like making some flow with the smoke, added some value to the volcano, a little bit around the outside of the moon, came into the foreground. I'm trying to make this down here look like the river. I think the only thing that I'm going to maybe add to this right now is maybe go back to Frank and add more value on top of this. Um, just so that it kind of looks more like evening or night and he doesn't look so bright. Maybe I'll leave some of the lighter values over here around his face so that you kind of focus in on that. It's not kind of coincidental that it's about a third of the way in from the right. It's about a third of the way down from up from the bottom. Um, Trying to make him very easy to see. You have angles kind of forcing you to look towards him, and then his neck comes and feeds right to his face. His foot kind of feeds to the face. Some of these angles, the top of the smoke also feeds down there. So I'm really trying to just get you to look at him and focus on the fact that he's sitting there. He's a little bit sad. His friend Perry has just gone home to go to bed for the night, and he's all alone. So he's kind of sulking and sitting there on top of this little plant area that he made down by the river. So I'm using the different edge now. I'm using kind of like the brush edge. You know, this might play around a little bit with some of the brush pen dark gray that I already put on here, but I don't think it's going to do much. I kind of went with some darker points to all the spikes on his back. I just want him to not feel so bright. So I'm using this to pull down some of those values. Maybe I'll leave a little bit of light along that neck at the top, but down at the bottom I might let it be a little bit darker. On his face, I'll maybe go over some of the bottom of the chin, some of the nose, some of the edges, but then leave that light in the front of the face. So that some of my biggest contrast is going to be the darks of his face against the lights. And a lot of this might take a couple passes for it to really read as kind of like a local value. Build up the values around the head so that they're nice and dark. So those highlights and maybe like the teeth parts stay nice and bright. I didn't do a little bit on the hair here. Build up some value on the toes. I like the toes on the left. The toes on the right here, maybe I'll have to touch up one more time. This one does seem to blend the marker color just a little bit more than the other end, which is good. Then I can kind of blend it in. I want his value to be, if I can, darker than those mountains in the background so that he comes forward. we'll go over it again. Keep adding a little bit by little bit. It's kind of like glazing. Thinking back to our painting class, glazing with a marker on this paper. Hopefully it'll hold up. I think I'm going to probably stop here. I might go in and do a little bit up there, and I might do a little bit to this ground around him so that that white of these plants maybe stands out against the darks of how dark he is. So, I think that's it for this one. Other than this, you're just going to see the different stages and the actual shot of each stage. So, thanks for joining in, and hopefully this kind of gives you some ideas of how you might work on your rough and finish that up for critique next Wednesday, April 1st.